everyone, I hope you're doing beautifully well. Today is a sit down, chill, talk video where I'm going to talk about what it's like living in London as a student. I'm completing my first year. I'm currently in a foundation degree, so I'm not yet in my bachelor's degree, but next year I will be. It's been around 9 months that I've been living here, and honestly, when I look back at myself a year ago, I would have never thought that my expectations would match what's the reality of living in London. So I wanted to share so that you guys have an insight on what it's like, especially if you're going to be a student. There's also going to be things that relate to anyone who moves here, but this is just my perspective as a student. I also want to say that I grew up partially in France and partially in Canada, so everything I'm saying is relative to those two countries, because if, for example, I say London is so expensive, if you're from a place like Los Angeles, it might not be more expensive than those places, but from where I grew up, it's more expensive. I guess that is where we will start. London is expensive, not only in terms of everyday living, but also in terms of places to live. I'm currently in student halls, which we'll get into later, but I live in a studio in private accommodation in the East End of London, and I pay approximately what you would pay for just a regular studio, not in student accommodation. I recently signed a lease for an apartment starting in like 2 weeks, and it is less expensive than what I pay now, although there are benefits to living in student accommodation, but we'll talk about that later. Especially the housing market right now, it is going through the roof. I found my apartment about 3 weeks ago, and from 3 weeks ago till now, the housing market has gone even higher. There was the same studio I have, but on a lower floor in the exact same building, that went for £150 a week more than what I paid for. It's fucking insane. And it's the exact same studio. So anyway, it's also really competitive in the sense that how many people are looking for a place to stay. Because right now there are many more people who are looking for a place to stay than there are places available. I got really lucky and I only put 2 offers in before I got my studio, but I know people who have gone through offers and offers and offers and who just don't get an apartment because people offer more, or there's so much demand that they just pick whoever they prefer. I just wanted to say also that there are cheaper options available. I didn't precise this when I was filming, but you can have a house share where you share a bathroom and or a kitchen, and you can also do that in student accommodation, and it's obviously cheaper. I'm just talking about it through my opinion and through my perspective of not sharing a bathroom and or a kitchen. I'm sorry I didn't mention that in the video, but it's still very expensive even if you do share, so it comes down to the same. But there are cheaper options available. Yeah, just wanted to mention that quickly. In terms of everyday living, it is also really expensive relative to where I grew up. Things like membership and transportation are ridiculously expensive. Food is not so bad if you go grocery shopping, but restaurant food is expensive. At the start, I would always do the conversion to like Canadian dollars, and then after that, I just stopped because it's just ridiculous and it doesn't make sense to do the conversion because you just have to live with what's available. So tip, don't do the conversion from wherever you're from because it will hurt. I guess we can talk about student halls and why I chose to move now. Student halls, I don't think I had the typical student halls experience because I decided to get a studio, so I don't share anything with anyone. I don't know anyone who lives in my residence, which might be like, why did you even decide to go in res? Well, I decided to go in res because it was easy, so I just thought for my first year I'd rather just do the easy way and then figure out what location I like, and eventually if I want an apartment, I know what location I like, and also, you know, I want to be here so I can be able to go to viewings, etc. But the reason I took a studio is because I'm someone who needs a lot of time alone, and I look at my friends who share a flat with people. It's a very nice community atmosphere, so you immediately have people that you can hang out with. However, if you're unlucky, either you will not like your roommates or either they will be very messy And if you're a tidy person, yeah. One of my friends is tidy and all her flatmates are extremely untidy. And so she ended up just not using her kitchen anymore because the kitchen was always really gross. But also I have a friend who has really tidy roommates. So it's really 50-50. You will not know until you move in what people you're with. And I'm really grateful because I can afford living in a studio, but I know that a lot of people have to live with flatmates because prices are ridiculous. But I'm really thankful that I had the option to do that, and I just thought if I have the possibility of living alone, I'm just going to take it because I am not someone who likes living with other people. And also I am a little biased about this because there are many events that happen in my residence. I just choose not to go to them because I guess I'm not really social. But I just want you to know that if you do decide to pick studio like me, there are definitely options for you to socialize within your res, even though you don't share anything with your roommates. I just decided not to do that because I'm a groundhog. So another thing I want to touch on regarding residence, university residence versus private residences. I am in private residence, which means that any student who is studying in London can live in this residence, while university residents are only specific to that university. The reason I decided to go into private residence is because I wanted to meet different people and not just stick to my uni, even though I haven't done that at all since I've arrived, and it's been like 9 months. Anyway, but I did want that opportunity to be there if I wanted to meet other people that are not in my uni. What's great about living in student res is that everything's included. So you just pay the rent, you don't worry about utilities, you don't have to worry about, you know, gym memberships because, for example, my residence has a gym. You don't need to worry about laundry because my residence has laundry. You don't need to worry about, you know, if the landlord's nice because there's many people that work here, many staff, and they're all at the front desk, and if you have an issue, you just go to them, which is great about student accommodation. And it's just easy living. And I feel like for a first year transition, especially if you're moving to a new city, it's very nice to just have everything kind of taken care of for you and not have to worry about paying utilities and, you know, having to take your laundry a kilometer away to have it washed. It's just nice to have everything included. But the reason I decided to move out of student res is because when you're living in student res, you're constantly in a student environment. So like, for example, at 2 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays, even Thursdays sometimes, you will have students screaming in the hall, which is wonderful, you know, it's a great alarm clock, but you're just constantly in student atmosphere, you know what I mean? Like, you can never dissociate yourself from uni. You're just always within it. And I feel like some people would love that. I'm just not a very big party girl. I just wanted a smaller place with less people all around me because my residence is huge. It feels like I'm in a fishbowl. I just thought if there's the same opportunity at hand, bigger place to stay, same price, and not in a fishbowl, I'm gonna fucking take it, you know? So I just got really lucky with the apartment I found. The next thing I want to touch on is for my people of the queer community. I didn't expect London to have such a big queer community. I don't know if it's just because it's a big city, but London, everyone is at least an ally from my experience. I don't know, there's probably homophobes too, but I'm just saying from my experience, everyone is super open and super supportive, and that's been great also in my journey of self-discovering because I am bisexual and I realized that a couple of years ago, but I never was like fully open about it. I did have a girlfriend for around 1.5 years back in Canada, but it was very small town. A lot of people would make fun of us. It was just like really odd. But being in London, it's like you can just be so open about everything. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be open about it regardless if you live in a big city or not. I'm just saying it's really easy to be, and you feel very supported and you feel very welcomed. So if you are a part of the queer community, just so you know, it's a wonderful place to be. Yeah, lots of gay clubs too. So anyway, however, speaking of a lot of people, London, and again, I think I just say London, but I think this is with every big city, London gets really tiring. And I don't know if it's because I really like my downtime and I need a lot of space to myself, but it is draining. It is really draining. Like sometimes after a week of like going to school and going out and going to the library and like just constant action, I was just dead for like 3 days, and I need to stay in bed for 3 days. It's just really draining. There's like constant action, constant movement, constant noise. Also, London is a very noisy city, but again, like big city. I'm saying London because this is where I am, but I think it's like every big city. So it just can get really tiring, and sometimes you just want to be like, shut the fuck up. Like, can everything just stop for 1 minute? Everything is very fast paced. You know, life is on the roll. People have a purpose. You see them walking the street and it's like, okay, you know where you're going, and you're not, you know, you're not gonna stop for anybody. It's like you have to constantly be on your toes, which is very fun, very nice, very exciting, but it takes a lot out of you, a lot. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of people and having a purpose, a lot of people can be very intimidating in London. Maybe I just say that because I'm shy, but it is a little intimidating. You like look at people and you're like, fuck, they're cool. It's very scary. And I don't know if it's just a me thing. Once you like get in the swing of it, you realize, no, I'm fine, like I got this. But it can be very intimidating, and it can make you feel very small too, which is, you know, always fun to feel really small. But again, once you know, kind of leave your mark and you find your thing, maybe you will feel bigger than before, you know, and maybe you feel like you're a part of something bigger. But at first, it does feel a little intimidating and makes you feel a little small. I'm just being really honest, okay? I was talking about transportation at the beginning of this video, and I also want to say that everything in London is far. Don't expect to get from the West End to the East End in less than half an hour. That will just not happen. It takes around 45 minutes to an hour to do that, and sometimes there's a lot of traffic. And personally, for someone who prefers the bus because A, you can see everything, and B, it's cheaper than the tube, the buses take a long time. There's also many strikes, especially on weekends. Not so much for buses, but especially on the tube, there's a lot of strikes. So just plan ahead all the time. Leave a lot of time to get to where you want to be, because if Google Maps says that it will take 25 minutes, it will take at least 40, you know, which is just a tip, just a small little tip. The last thing I will talk about is British humor. I am a big fan of British humor. British people are very honest. They will just straight up tell you what they're thinking straight up to your face, which can be a little daunting, especially like as someone who grew up in a community which is always like very sugarcoating everything. Yeah, British people are just really straight up, but British people are probably some of the funniest people I have ever met in my life. I am someone who laughs a lot. Like, you can tell me anything and I'll probably laugh. But British people, they're really funny. So that's something to look forward to. And that is a good note to end on. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know if you have any questions about anything, even if it's not regarding this video at all. Let me know, but I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I really hope this gave you a good sense of what London is like. And yes, I will talk to you soon, and thank you again for watching. Bye!